Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunahamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. So we invoke Bhagwan's grace, Gurudev's blessings as we start Taittiriya-Upaniṣad, Brahmananda-Vallī. So before we start, I'm just gonna go over the basics of what an Upanishad is. Just spend a few moments doing that so we understand exactly what we're entering into. When we study Vedanta, there has to be a source, an authentic source, a respectable source. And that source is called pramāṇa. Pramāṇa means the source or the means of knowledge. Now, in Vedanta, the source of knowledge is Upanishad. And Vedanta also means Upanishad. The Upanishads are the conclusive teachings of the Vedas. So the Vedas are a huge body of knowledge that were passed on from teacher to student. This knowledge was revealed to our rishis at the seat of contemplation. And the conclusive teaching of the Vedas is called Vedānta. And Vedānta also means Upanishad. So this what we're studying forms the basis of all knowledge. All knowledge that we study is based on these Upanishads. So whether it would be Panchadashi or Bhagavad Gita or Vakyavritti, any text, it's mainly based in the Upanishads. And the word is very interesting because it tells us what it does. And it can be broken down in 3 syllables. Upanishad. Upa means that to study this knowledge, the first thing we have to do is come close to a teacher, a guru paramparā. So here we are learning directly from Adi Shankaracharya ji and Puja Gurudev. We have to come close, sit close to the Guru Parampara. So this knowledge is not to be studied on our own, read on our own, but it has to come through a lineage because there's so many things that we can misinterpret or misread. The syllable ni means we come to it with faith, that we might not understand everything about the Upanishad, and we may have some doubts every now and then, but we're holding on with a working faith that I'll walk with this. Let me walk with this until it becomes a fact for me. So it's not going to be faith forever, but it's a working faith that eventually will become a fact upon self-realization. And shad comes from sad, the root sad, which has 3 meanings now: Visharana, Gati, Avasadhana. Visharana means when we sit close to the teacher, when we come with faith, it first of all destroys our ignorance. Visharana, it destroys our ignorance. And by destroying our ignorance, Gati, it leads us to the ultimate realization of the truth. Now, does this happen to everyone? In case it doesn't happen, Avasadhana happens. Avasadhana means it loosens our bondage, meaning it makes us more fit to understand this knowledge. We might not get it, but we become more fit. And it loosens our bondage, means it makes us grow out of our bondage gradually. So that's what Upanishad is meant to do. Destroy ignorance, help us to realize that self. And if we don't, then it prepares us, it purifies us, and it makes us grow. And so that's the beauty of studying it. The Upanishad that we're studying is called Taittiriya. Taittiriya. And this Upanishad belongs to the Yajurveda, the Kṛṣṇa-Yajurveda. And there's a story for how it has come about. There was once a rishi named Yajnavalkya. And I'm sure you might have heard about him before. So Yajnavalkya was studying under his guru Vaishampayana. And they got into a quarrel of some sort. And his guru said, all the knowledge that I taught you, I want you to blurt it out. Because you are arguing with me, you have become too proud. All the knowledge that I taught you, blurt it out. And so Yajnavalkya blurted it out. It literally says that he vomited everything out. And when it came out, all the students wanted to take that knowledge because Yajnavalkya was very wise, very profound. He knew so much. So they took the form of these birds called Taittiriya birds, and they started chewing on that knowledge that Yajnavalkya he spat out or he took out. And because this knowledge was consumed by Taittiriya birds, it's called Taittirīya-Upaniṣad. So that's just a story to tell us the background of it, but also to let us know that this knowledge only comes with humility. Vidya dadati vinayam. Knowledge brings humility. If knowledge brings about pride, then it's ignorance only. Any knowledge brings about humility. So now with that much, we're going to enter into Taittiriya-Upaniṣad in the second section or Valli. Each section is called Valli. This Upanishad has actually 3 sections. The first one is called Śīkṣā-vallī, second one is Brahmānanda-Vallī, and the third one is Bhṛgu-vallī. The first Śīkṣā-vallī, it deals a lot with how the student should be. What are the practices the students should have? And it deals with contemplative exercises or upasanas. The second Brahmananda-Vallī, it deals directly with inquiry into the nature of truth. And this forms the basis of Panchadashi, chapter 3, which we studied. And the third Valli, Bhṛgu-vallī, is all about inquiry again into the nature of the self in a different way. So the second one, Brahmananda-Vallī, does it in a slightly different way. And the third one also does it in a slightly different way. So our focus is going to be Brahmananda-Vallī. So if you have the books with you, I'm on page 137. We will start from chapter 2. So wherever it says chapter 2, we start with the peace invocation. For this Upanishad, I will just chant everything twice. Once I'll chant, the second time you can chant with me. Because there's a lot of intonations that we have to follow for this particular one. Okay, so I'll just chant this invocation. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now you can chant with me. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is the peace invocation in Taittiriya-Upaniṣad. And it's a beautiful one. We've chanted it so many times, but now at least we'll get to know the meaning. First, we'll see why this invocation is required. Invocation is required because we come from such busy lives, a busy background with so many things in our minds. You know, we have to go here, we have to do this, or some disturbance is there. So before we start something like the Upanishads, a tuning of the mind is required. Because when we study any body of knowledge, the student is not the body. The student is not a male, a female, an older person or young person. The student that comes is the mind. And so to tune this mind and to remove any obstacles, this peace invocation is chanted. Now, what does it mean? It's a very beautiful invocation that the teacher and the student can chant together. It starts with Om. Om represents that ultimate reality, that Brahman self. So we start with Om, that ultimate reality. Saha now avatu. Saha, together, now, us, avatu, may he protect us. Meaning, may that divine Lord, the divine being protect us. In what way? By giving us clear knowledge. Because sometimes, either when we are speaking or when we are listening, we get tainted by our own likes and dislikes. We tend to interpret things the way we want to interpret them. So when knowledge is being given to us, we kind of, take what we like, and whatever we don't like, we just forget about it. We don't take the whole thing. Whatever we like, we take it. Whatever we don't like, I'm putting that aside. So we don't see the whole picture. Or sometimes we tend to twist knowledge and, twist it to our advantage, and so that we feel like we are following it, but actually it could be much deeper than what we think. So many times we cloud things, and even, by so many doubts that we have, because we have a lack of faith, so many doubts. And when we do this, when the teacher is speaking, it's like we have two conversations in our head, right? One is listening and then the other one's doubting. So may the teacher and the student be protected. May the teacher also be a fit vessel, pure, calm, and very subtle, so that divine words can shine through. So may the teacher be protected. May the student be protected. And may we have clear knowledge, free from likes, dislikes, free from twisting it, free from mistakes, free from any defect. May we be protected in that way, because this knowledge is so incredibly sacred. It's the knowledge of the self. Then, saha now bhunaktu. Saha, together, now, us both, bhunaktu. May we enjoy this knowledge. Meaning, while studying it, may we take delight in it. May we revel in it. May we enjoy it. Enjoy what we're doing. Immerse ourselves in it. May it not be like a chore. May this be something that's joyful. And may this also bring the result of joy. Bring the result of realization of joy. So may we enjoy this whole process, and in it may we realize that we are joy itself. Sahanau punaktu. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Saha, together, Viryam, effort, Karavavahai. May we both put forth effort. May the teacher put forth effort in clarifying everything, reading, reflecting, presenting everything, being a fit instrument. May the teacher put forth all the effort to make this as clear as possible. But at the same time, may the student also put forth that effort to value this. And the way we value this knowledge is by thinking about it, reflecting upon it, and living it. So may we both put forth effort to make this knowledge worthy, valuable to us. Then, tejasvinau adhitam astu. Now, astu, whatever may it be, astu, may what be, adhitam, may what we study, tejasvi, be brilliant now to both of us. Tejasvinau adhitam astu. So, what this means is, whatever we're studying, it can remain in the book, it can remain in our notes, it can remain on YouTube, but what's the point of that? May it shine, especially when we need it most. This is what this line means. That when I really need this knowledge, may it shine forth through me. May I remember it. May it be brilliant, effulgent in my head so that I can actually use it in my life. Because what good is knowledge if it's just going to stay in a book? So may this actually be brilliant, shine in my life. Ma vidvisha vahai. And may we never quarrel. May the teacher and student, or students and students, may there never be any quarrel. May we keep this as a sacred space of love and respect. Because our quest here is only one, to know the truth. Not to prove anybody's right or wrong, but it's simply to know the truth and to realize it. That's all. There's no other purpose of being in a setting like this. Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. May we have peace. Peace from all of the phenomenal forces. That there should be no strong rain or earthquake or hazard or fire, anything that would prevent us to have this knowledge. May there be peace from the people around us. If I am living at home, may the TV not be too loud, may someone's phone not ring, and, may people keep a peaceful setting for me so that I can really learn this knowledge. And finally, the third Shanti is, may we have peace from our own minds. May my mind not be disturbed or worried or stressed when I come to a teaching like this. So may we have peace from all the phenomenal forces. May we have peace from all the people around us and peace within us so that we can learn together. And with this, the Taittiriya-Upaniṣad starts. So this is the Shanti Pata, the invocation. So it's very, very beautiful when we think about it. Anything that we learn, really, this prayer is very applicable. It's a universal prayer for any time we're learning anything. Okay? So now we're going to start with the Upanishad. So I will chant. This Upanishad is divided into sections, or what we call Anuvaka. So we're going to start from section 1 or Anuvaka 1. Brahma Vedāpnoti param tadeshabhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma Yo Veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman soshnute sarvan kaman saha Brahmana vipaschiteti. So we're going to see up to that. Okay, I'll chant it again. Om Brahma Vedāpnoti param tadeshabhyukta satyam dhyanam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman soshnute sarvan kaman saha Brahmana vipaschiteti. So what does it say? Om Brahmavit apnoti param. So we'll see section by section. Brahmavit apnoti param. The knower of Brahman, Brahmavit, apnoti, attains param, the supreme. This is how it starts. So the knower of Brahman attains the supreme. It right away tells you why we're studying this. So first, what is supreme? What do we mean by supreme? Supreme means the highest possible thing that we can think of. The highest wherefrom we don't want anything higher. So usually when we are in a job or in a career, we have a position and then we want a higher position and then a higher position, a pay raise. Or if we are studying something, we want this education and then higher education and then higher education. Or if we are in certain stages of life, we want to be in a higher stage of life, higher stage of life. So we're constantly striving for something higher. But this is param, which means it's the highest. Upon attaining it, there's nothing else higher than that. So it is the absolute highest. So if we want to know what's the highest that we can go, it's really ourselves. So that supreme is Brahman. So the knower of Brahman attains Brahman. And Brahman, the word also, brihattamatvat, it means infinite. And the knower of Brahman attains Brahman because it is through knowledge that Brahman is attained or recognized. You see, when in the world, let us say we want to have good health, by studying about good health, a proper diet, exercise, we don't attain good health, right? We have to actually do something. It's not that we just study how to be healthy and then we become healthy. We have to practice, we have to exercise. Or if somebody studies how to become rich, and that doesn't mean that they're going to become rich. They can study it and then they have to work really hard, right? So whenever it is something different from me, something other than me, I have to put forth a lot of action to get it. I need knowledge plus action. So I want good health, knowledge, and then work on it. I want lots of money, knowledge, and then work on it. But when that which is to be attained is me itself, then I don't need any action. Simply knowing is enough because it's already me. So to recognize the self, we don't need any action. We don't need to do. We just need to know. So Brahmavit, the one who knows Brahman, attains Brahman. Now the question comes, well, if you are already Brahman, then why do you say attain Brahman? You are already Brahman. You just said that. You are already Brahman. Why do you have to attain Brahman? Well, the reason is because Brahman is as though unattained. We are already that, but we are unaware of it. It is very much like the story of the 10th man, wherein he himself was the 10th man. He himself was the 10th man, but he kept looking outside, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And he said, where's the 10th man? Where's the 10th man? And because of that, he was incredibly sad. He was incredibly sad because he thought the 10th man was missing. It's already him, but he thought the 10th man was missing. And so he was crying, he was sad, and he broke down. But when someone came and told him, you are the 10th man, it's just a matter, you just turn within, you are the 10th man. You didn't notice it, you didn't pay attention because your mind was going outside, so you didn't pay attention. But actually, you are the 10th man. And when he recognized it, then he cries again. But this time it's not tears of sorrow, it's tears of bliss, because there was the recognition. So the word apnoti, the word attains here, means I am already that. But because of this ignorance, I have not been able to recognize it. So how do we put this together? The knower of Brahman recognizes that they are Brahman. And Brahman is that supreme reality. So the knower of Brahman recognizes that they are Brahman. And it's simply through knowledge, no action required. Okay, so what is the nature of this Brahman? You keep speaking about Brahman. What is the nature of this Brahman? So it says, Tat esha abhyukta. Tat, with reference to that the knower of Brahman attains Brahman, esha abhyukta. This is recited, abhyukta. So the next 3 lines, you'll see, they are a quote. It's like a quote from the Rig Veda. So the next 3 lines are recited based on that first statement, Brahmavid apnoti param. And in fact, the first statement is really the entire Brahmananda-Vallī getting unfolded. Okay? So with reference to that, the following hymns are recited. And then we have 1, 2, 3. What does it say? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. What is Brahman? Brahman is Satyam, existence, Jnanam, consciousness, Anantam, infinity or infinitude. So this is the source of where we find that Brahman is existence, consciousness, infinitude, existence, consciousness, bliss. This is where it is in our Upanishads. Now Adi Shankaracharya ji gives a very nice definition of all of them, and then he goes to, to kind of bring out some objections, and then he also challenges with the objections that are brought out, he challenges them back very nicely. So we will see that. So first he says, what is Satyam? Yad rupena yan nishchitam tad rupam na vyabicharati tat satyam. I'm just quoting from the commentary. Satyam means reality, that which is what it is. Yad rupena yan nishchitam. So that by its essence, it is what it is. It's not anything else. Tad rupam na vyabicharati. It does not change. So it is exactly as it is, and it does not change. And that's what we call reality. Satyam actually means reality. This is where the definition comes. So immediately, when we know that Satyam means reality, means changeless, so what is changeless? What does changelessness mean? Here, it means that something that is an effect is always changing. Something that's a vikara. So for example, in the clay, the bracelet is an effect, the ring is an effect, the necklace is an effect, and those effects are always changing. They can, become something else. The bracelet can become a ring, it can become an earring. They can also decay, they can get broken, they can get smashed up, and then they can get recreated. So those things which are effects, they're always subject to change. So reality cannot be any effect of anything. Even if you have a seed, the sprout is an effect of the seed, and then the sprout changes to become something else. It changes to become a plant, a flower. So these things which are effects are not real. Not real. What about things which are a cause? So what about, let us say, you said the seed, it's a cause of the sprout. Is that real? No, because again, the seed, it changes to become the sprout. So even the cause which changes to become an effect is not real, because it's also subject to change. So let us say a tree, which is the cause of leaves, of branches, that's also a cause. Or let us say a parent who's causing the birth of a child, that's also a cause. There's a lot of difference, there's a lot of variance that happens in producing a child. So anytime something is a cause, then it is not real, because it keeps changing. So therefore, what is reality? What exactly is Satyam? Satyam is free from cause and effect. It is that which is changeless, which is free from cause and effect. And in other words, it is also existence, or a pure being. It's not existence of, but pure existence, pure being, which is free from cause and effect. Because it is as it is, it does not change, not even a wee bit. That's called Satya. And these three, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, these are what we call lakshanas. They are indicators of Brahman. Because all we know, Brahman can't really be defined, because Brahman is beyond speech, it's beyond the mind. But these words are there to indicate what Brahman is, so that at least we know what it is. The next word now that he brings is jnanam. Okay? And here he says, this pure being, to show that it is a conscious entity. Then the word jnanam is brought. Jnanam means jnaptihi avabodha. It means knowledge. But here we must understand consciousness. So it's jnana means knowledge, but consciousness. To show that this pure being is awareness, is consciousness, jnanam is brought in. So now, in jnanam, when we say, okay, the truth is this consciousness, could it be the ego? Several objections come. Could it be the ego? Could it be the knower? Like let us say I'm Shubhani, I'm the knower. Could you be referring to me, the knower? And the answer is no, because the knower keeps changing. See, you have to bring satyam and jnanam together, right? The knower keeps changing. First, I become a thinker. I'm thinking thoughts. Then I become a feeler. I'm feeling emotions. Then I become a perceiver. I'm perceiving objects. So in this way, the knower keeps changing. Or first, I know basic mathematics. Then I know statistics. Then I know trigonometry. So the knower keeps changing. So the knower is not jnanam. We don't mean knower here. We mean that knowledge principle. Well, could you mean the known? Maybe not the knower. Could you mean knowledge principle meaning known, the known object? No, because if Brahman was known, then who would know Brahman? Right? If Brahman was known as an object, who would know Brahman? So we don't mean the knower per se. We don't mean the known. Well, could it be that Brahman is the knower and known at the same time? And the answer is no. And this is where he brings the word anantam. Anantam means yadhi nakutaschit pravibhajyate, where there's no division. Anantam, there's no division. So if Brahman was the knower and known at the same time, then there's division. So therefore, Brahman is not the knower and known at the same time. What Brahman is beyond the knower and known. So there's the process of I'm the knower and I know this book. So I'm the knower, I know this book. This is an object, and there's a process of knowing. Knower, known, knowing. Brahman is not the knower because the knower changes. I know this, and then I know another Upanishad, and then I know another Upanishad. Brahman is not the known object because then who would know Brahman if Brahman was the known object? And Brahman is also not the process of knowing, because to have the process of knowing, you need the knower and the known. And Brahman is independent. So Brahman is that which illumines this triad of knower, known, knowing. Brahman is that which illumines it. So anything in the triad is not Brahman. That which illumines the triad is Brahman. And that is called jnanam. Satyam, jnanam. So satyam is to remove any change. There's absolutely no change in Brahman. Jnanam is to remove any inertness. There's no inertness in Brahman. And the word anantam is to remove any division from Brahman. There's absolutely no division in Brahman. Anantam means infinite. That where there's no two. There's no division whatsoever. So when you put these three things together, then you get Brahman. These are the indicators for Brahman. Now, there a question might arise. We normally hear Satchit Ananda. We don't really hear Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So how is this Anantam related to Ananda? Right? Because we're saying existence, consciousness, infinitude. But what we hear is existence, consciousness, bliss. So how do you put those two things together? So very beautifully in Chandogya Upanishad, there's a statement which says, Yo vei bhuma tat sukham. Wherever there's infinitude, there is bliss. And what do we mean by this? See, Brahman is only one. Now, when do we feel sorrow? Whenever we appear as two, we feel sorrow. Whenever we appear as a subject object, a desirer desired, we feel sorrow. Every single time I forget my nature and I take the garb of I am the desirer and I have a desired object, that very moment there is sorrow because there is longing for the desired object. I want that desired object. I want to do everything I can to get it. And when I get it, again there is sorrow because it's going to go away. And then I have to get it again. Or if I get it and I don't really like it, I have to now get something else. So we only really get one moment of peace. It's when the desirer and desired object, they merge. And again, there's non-duality. In that moment of non-duality, I get peace. But the minute I break that non-duality, I break it, not that it can be broken, but I as though break it or think that it's two, I have again disturbance. So disturbance is every time I appear as two. Every time I appear as desirer, desired object, I get disturbed. I get sorrow. And whenever I recognize the oneness, I am peaceful. So only when there is non-duality, when there's no division, actually only there is peace and there's bliss. Whenever we become two, then there is always sorrow. And this is true with any object, any person. When you just think about food, a very, very basic example, food, okay? When food is in front of me, a plate is in front of me, then I want it. I really, really want it. I desire it, right? But the minute it's one with me, what happens? I'm at peace. I'm so peaceful. I'm in cloud nine. So in any object, when it's apart, we get agitated. But when it's with us, we find so much peace. So that's the connection between Ananta and Ananda, right? So now these three are given as the lakshanas of Brahman, although Adi Shankaracharya ji says very clearly that Brahman cannot be defined. Even the word Brahman doesn't touch Brahman. These are just to indicate Brahman. So we have an idea of who we are. So Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. The question comes then, how do we recognize this Brahman? Where can I find Brahman? So very beautifully, he says, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. Yaha, the one who, Veda, the one who knows it. Where is it? Nihitam. It's existing. Guhayam. It is existing in the cave of the heart. Parame Vyoman, in the transcendent Akasha. So it is existing in the cave of the heart, in that space, supreme space. What does this mean? Where is the place of recognition of Brahman? Brahman is to be recognized in the intellect itself. The cave of the heart means intellect. Because this recognition takes place through a thought that I am Brahman. Brahman is beyond thought. It is true. But to understand, to recognize who we are, we need that thought. We need what we call a Brahmakara vritti. That thought which takes the form of Brahman. That thought which says, this is me. This is who I am. So it is recognized in that intellect. In that, when we say cave of the heart, means in that intellect. What kind of intellect? In Kathopanishad, it says very beautifully that it is known by a very sharp and subtle intellect through inquiry. Because remember, this process that we're going through is a process of inquiry. We don't have to experience Brahman per se. We have to just really inquire. And on that inquiry, at the peak of that inquiry, that very intellect seizes. So it inquires, and then it's just ceases. And we remain as we are. It goes to its absolute limit, and then it just completely surrenders. Like the salt doll in the ocean. So this is a process of inquiry. It is known through the intellect. What happens when Brahman is known this way? So ashnute sarvan kaman saha, means saha, that being, ashnute, realizes, sarvan kaman saha, all desires along, means all desires at one time. Brahmana vipashchita iti, as Brahman, the wise one or the omniscient. So that being who knows Brahman in the cave of the heart, meaning in that intellect, in that buddhi, they enjoy all the desires at one go. This is what the commentary says. They enjoy all the desires of the world in one go. Now you might think this is really strange. How can you really enjoy all the desires at one go? Is it possible? It is very possible because everything is you. There was once this king, and this comes in Chandogya Upanishad. He was a very, very famous king. And he was known throughout the land. Everybody knew him. And his fame spread all over. And so one day, this king was sitting in the terrace of his home, his kingdom, and two birds were flying. They're flying up in the sky. And the birds were talking. And they said, oh, let's be careful not to trespass this king because he's so great, he's so wonderful, he's famed all over. And the other bird said, he's not that great. He's not as great as the cart puller. And now the king happened to hear this. And he said, what? Who is this cart puller? There's a cart puller who's greater than me? And the next morning, he couldn't sleep the whole night. And he told all of his ministers the next morning, find that cart puller who's better than me. Find him. And they went all over. And they found this one young man. He was sitting under his cart and scratching his head. And they said, are you the cart puller? And he says, yes, I am. And the king goes to see him. And the king seeks for the knowledge he has. He says, what knowledge do you have? And this cart puller, who was just pulling carts, not doing anything, doesn't really have anything. He has the most amazing knowledge, and that was to make everything one with him. It was a special knowledge that made everything one with him. So what is this knowledge? This knowledge is very simple. If we desire something, already contemplate that it is you. Because where is it appearing? Where is that desired object appearing? I want to go to a place for vacation. Where is that appearing? that's appearing in awareness, that awareness is you. So how can you desire it? So anytime a desire comes, that desire is already fulfilled because it's already me. So all desires are enjoyed at one go because everything is essentially you. It's like in the dream. When you dream, you are everything in the dream. You are everything in the dream. In the same way, in the waking world, that consciousness appears as everything. So everything is already gained. Everything is already attained. Everything is already you. So this is a very beautiful knowledge because it gets rid of desire like this. You don't have to do much. There's no like, oh, let me get that. I feel incomplete. I want that. I want to get that. No, just sit quietly and ask yourself, where is that desire sitting? Who is illumining that desire? What is its source? And then the desire just burns down. It burns into ashes. Soshnute sarvan kaman saha. So he realizes all his desires at one go because he's everything. Brahmana vipashchita. He realizes this along with Brahman, because Brahman is that which appears as all of the desires, and that Brahman is vipashchita. Vipashchita means omniscient, wise. And this is the first portion of the Taittiriya-Upaniṣad. So I'll just read this translation and then I'll recap a little bit and then we'll close. Om, the knower of Brahman attains the supreme. With reference to that is the following hymn recited. Brahman is the truth, knowledge, and infinity. He who knows it as existing in the cave of the heart in the transcendent Akasha realizes all his desires along with omniscient Brahman. So the knower of Brahman attains the supreme, meaning the knower of Brahman attains Brahman. How can you say that you're already Brahman? Yes, but we don't recognize it due to ignorance. And therefore this knowledge is required. What is the nature of that Brahman? It is existence, pure being, pure existence, reality, which doesn't change. It is jnanam, consciousness. It is anantam, infinity. It can't be divided. It is only one. And who recognizes this? Yo Veda nihitam guhayam. It's the one who recognizes it in their intellect, because it has to take place through a thought. This knowledge has to take place through a thought. And what happens when we recognize it? We enjoy all of the desires in the world because the world is in you. So really, you begin to realize that you are joy and you don't need to enjoy. So knowledge is when we realize that we are joy and we don't need to enjoy anymore. Okay, so we'll stop here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.